I remember the night as if it were frozen in crystal. Every detail suspended under the dim glow of candlelight. The restaurant was elegant, draped in silk curtains, the kind of place where every plate feels like an occasion. Soft music played from a corner piano, and the clinking of glasses carried like whispers of celebration. For me, it was a night to honor 5 years of a marriage I thought was unshakable. I watched my wife across the table, her dress catching the light in a way that made me think of the first time I ever saw her. My chest swelled with love, and no small amount of relief, because I believed we had weathered storms together. I leaned forward, smiling, certain I knew her heart. Then she lifted her glass. With a sly grin she declared, "Here's to 5 years, and finally being free." The world shattered in that single toast. Her toast kept echoing in my head, sharp and mocking, long after the words dissolved into laughter from nearby tables. I forced a smile, but inside something twisted. I caught the smirk tugging at her lips, the way her eyes darted to her phone buzzing discreetly under the tablecloth. She locked the screen quickly, almost too quickly, when she noticed me glance down. I tried to steer the conversation to us, to memories, to plans for the future, but her responses were flat, distracted, like I was reading from a script she'd already grown bored of. My mind began stitching together recent oddities. Her late nights at the office, the new password on her phone, her sudden coldness in bed. The toast wasn't a joke, it was a confession hidden in plain sight. After that night, I couldn't unhear her toast. It sat in my chest like a splinter, so I began paying closer attention. At first it was subtle. A delicate lace set tucked into the laundry, garments I had never seen her wear for me. Perfume lingered on them, but paired with something unfamiliar, something musky, like cologne. She announced girls' nights more often, breezing out the door with a sparkle in her eyes I hadn't seen in months. Except it wasn't joy for me. When she thought I wasn't near, I caught whispers behind the locked bathroom door. Her voice low, sharp, followed by the hurried flush of water to conceal it. I wanted to laugh it off, to believe I was paranoid, but the evidence piled up in layers I couldn't deny. Each strange detail stripped away the illusion of the woman I thought I knew. My marriage wasn't unraveling, it was already torn. Living in the half-light of suspicion was torture. Every smile she flashed, every message she typed with her phone tilted away from me. Each needle pushed deeper into my chest. I couldn't stay idle. Quietly, I installed a tracker on her phone, the kind of thing I once thought belonged in spy movies, not marriages. Still, doubt gnaws louder than guilt. Within days the notifications confirmed what my gut already screamed. Addresses that weren't her office, nights she was nowhere near her so-called friend. My hands shook when I met with the private investigator, praying I was wrong even as I braced for the blow. He slid the photographs across the table like funeral papers. There she was, laughing, leaning close to him, in the very restaurant where she and I used to celebrate milestones, anniversaries, love itself. Seeing her there with another man wasn't just betrayal. It was desecration. My trust turned to ashes on the spot. If the photographs were a knife, the messages were the twist. The private investigator transferred the screenshots to me. And with each line I read, the world grew darker. These weren't flirtations. They were blueprints for escape. She wrote about counting down the days until she's free, her words dripping with anticipation. Her lover replied with promises of a new life together, mocking the vows she and I once swore at an altar. Suddenly, her toast at dinner crystallized in my mind. It hadn't been careless banter. It was a victory lap hidden behind a glass of wine. My heart pounded as I printed everything, sliding the papers into a plain white envelope. That envelope became my weapon of truth. I set it down on the dining room table, the weight of it heavier than steel. My hands trembled as I heard the sound of her keys in the lock, her footsteps closing in. She came through the door humming, as if the world outside hadn't already collapsed around me. I sat at the table, the envelope between us, my hands clenched to stop the tremor. When our eyes locked, I slid it forward. "What's this?" she asked, her tone sharp, defensive already. "Open it," I said, my voice low, breaking on the edge of fury. Her face drained as the photographs spilled out, followed by the screenshots, every betrayal in black and white. She stammered denials until reality pinned her like a spotlight. Then the denial shifted. Her lips curled in resentment. You were never supposed to find out like this, she hissed. I was waiting for the right night. Our 5-year anniversary. It was my moment to finally be free of you. The words landed like gunfire. My anguish ignited into wrath. I hurled back every lie, every alibi, every insult to our marriage she tried to bury under rehearsed excuses. Our voices rose, echoing through the walls, no longer a home, but a battlefield where her mask shattered completely. She stood exposed. She grabbed her purse, screaming accusations of how I'd never made her happy, and slammed the door behind her. But her words rang hollow, desperate volleys from someone already defeated. The evidence spoke louder than any excuse. Within days, the truth traveled. Family, friends, colleagues. Whispers turned into judgment, her carefully painted image crumbling into scandal. Even her lover, once her grand escape, began withdrawing as reality sank in. What started as her triumph ended as her humiliation. She became a shadow in her own story, remembered only for betrayal. Her disgrace living louder than her name. I sat alone one evening, quiet for the first time in weeks, and felt something unexpected. Peace. The years I'd invested, the trust I'd poured, they weren't wasted. They revealed my capacity to love beyond limits. Losing her didn't break me. It untangled me from poison I hadn't realized was tightening around my life. I thought back to her glass raised high, to her toast about being free. But the irony was cruelly beautiful. She never found freedom. I did. And as I walked forward, head unbowed, I carried not her betrayal, but my dignity. This time the toast was truly mine,